Everybody, we're live.
Woo! Yeah, we're live. Four seconds in, and we have zero viewers. We'll give it a second though. We'll get someone out there. Jiggy J, we missed you this weekend, brother.
I know, man. Seems like everybody had a great time. I missed out on all the fun, but
It,
I'm happy everybody. A good group of people went out, had some fun, caught some fish. Um, some mishaps on the way, maybe like your drive and your accident. You gotta tell me a little bit more about that
yeah.
later.
So for anyone who watches this that doesn't know, so it was crazy on the way back. So I rode out with Kevin Mack, and on the way back we decided to fish some of the interstate lakes. So we stopped at this one at a rest area, and you couldn't launch kayak there or anything. So we were just bank fishing,
Hmm.
and we pretty much fished the whole thing. It wasn't a very big pond, maybe 3-4 acres, but we walked around the edge of the entire thing and fished it. And good time. Caught one good one. Saw some big fish, but we were just finishing up and heard this noise, and we looked up, and some old lady had fallen asleep while pulling into the rest area and mowed down three of those metal um, like road markers.
Hmm.
And I don't know, on my post you can kind of see like her tire tracks. She woke up in time to miss the trailer with we had three boats on it, right? We had mine, we had Kevin's, and then we also had I borrowed Rick's old boat so I could fish the tournament. And, dude, it was pretty crazy, but
Okay, so
yeah.
did you hear the squeaking of the brakes right behind you? Like her just slam on the brakes next to you?
No, like
Oh,
she was out, dude. Like it was just normal car noises and like, and yeah, like yeah, I don't know. But
okay,
Kevin and I looked at each other like, what the heck was that? And
dude.
looked up, and like there were pieces of our car all over the road, and some truck driver
So
had gone and talked to her.
So she woke up okay on her own after hitting those things and just swerved off to the side of the street or off the road a little bit.
Yeah, she was able to make it into the rest
Mhm.
area, but clearly her car was not working properly. Like
Oh my
there
God.
was weird tire tracks, like maybe a tire had seized or something. I don't know.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was nuts. So anyway, so check this out though. So I'm talking to my buddy out in Colorado last night, and um, was telling him like, "Yeah, man, this was crazy." And we are talking all about the tournament. He goes, You're not going to believe what happened to me. He was fishing a tournament down on Pueblo Reservoir in Colorado this weekend. He's a boat guy, and crazy. I've never heard anything like this, but some guy shot himself in the head in front of him.
What?
The guy blew his face off. My buddy's fishing a tournament was like, holy, and like the guy was still alive. Life flight came and like picked this guy up, and he was like, yeah, his whole face was gone.
What? Hold on. So you just went from like traveling, the guy has a boat, and then all of a sudden this guy shot himself in the face. So, anyways, was this like a stressed out guy and out in public who pulled out right in front of him and just did it, or
I
was
have
it
no
just
idea. He's like, he goes, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, he goes, yeah, we're fishing and we're beating the bank. And there's this guy right in front of us, and he pulled out a gun and just shot himself in the head.
oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, can you imagine? So anyway, the point is, it makes some old lady almost running us down not such a big deal. So
Yeah, that's nuts,
hopefully that
man.
guy's okay and he figures out whatever's going
Hopefully, it
on.
wasn't one. Hopefully, it's like one of those where the guy was already planning on doing something and they just caught him at the wrong time. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy, man. That's so
Hey,
sad.
we got a few people on here. Rick's up is online with us. Jennifer, of course, she's always on here. James Strawbridge, guy from Colorado.
Colorado.
James, I'm wondering if you heard anything about this guy who shot himself at Pueblo Reservoir yesterday. Um, crazy stuff. But if you guys are online, we got 8 viewers. Make sure you check in, say hello. We'd like to know who's watching, and we got a lot going on tonight. James says he didn't hear anything about it, but Yeah, it was a crazy thing. We got a lot going on tonight. Different night than normal. Usually we're on Tuesdays. Of course, we got league now on Tuesdays, so we're kind of just switching things around and trying to figure out how to do this right. But we had a great weekend, man. I mean, Elwood was incredible. I only caught 2 bass, but to be real honest, I spent half the day like chasing my trash fish, right? Like I wanted the trash fish pot because
There's
I
some
had
good
no
ones.
I had no electronics, and was in another guy's boat, which is like wearing another guy's underwear. And I was like, you know what? I found a bite. The bass were biting it, but so were walleye. So I was like, we'll just see what happens. But
Dude, wait till we go to Blackhawk. There's nothing but trash fish there. Nothing but trash
no,
fish. About
hang on a second.
walleye, some muskie.
I've talked to a few people, and they said everybody should catch a limit of bass between 15 and 18 inches.
Did they talk about the walleye and muskie in
Oh
between?
yeah, tiger muskie. I was reading on Iowa DNR today about tiger muskie. That hey, your chances of landing the tiger muskie are pretty good here. So we may have to do another trash fish pot to see.
Oh yeah.
We kind of threw that together last minute, and I'd like to thank everybody for my $140. Paid for gas almost, but
Yeah.
good stuff. All right, so Alex is on. What's up, Alex? David's with us. David Harry could not make the tournament this weekend. He had other commitments. Of course, Jiggy J, you had to hang out and do the family man thing.
Yeah. Had a good
It's all
time
right,
hanging out
bro.
with the baby. That's all right.
That's all right. Are you going to be able to make Blackhawk or still kind of on the fence?
I have a campsite already. Just lock myself in, and I know there's gonna be some good trash fish there. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking for that trash trophy, man.
Well, Jay, I've said this to you before. I'll say it again. Family first,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
always, family first. But sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness instead.
This later. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
That being said, your wife probably hates me already. Oh, you got a man down. So
Yeah, man, that was
anyway,
good.
so coming off Elwood, we had 23 anglers out there. It was a great tournament. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Shields, best tackle store in Omaha, for sure. They've got so much gear, tons of kayaks, lots of accessories. Those guys are awesome. We appreciate them. Pro Plum for taking care of us on the $25 an hour big bass, which was fantastic. Of course, RoboHawk, our RoboHawk bait bucket. Get this, Marty wanted it again.
Again, I know. Hey, at least they're going to good use, though. I'm happy they're going to go to good use because if it was me, probably just sit around like all my other fishing tackle. To be honest.
I think Marty takes those and he gives them to some of the kids down there in Auburn.
Oh
so
yeah, I know he does.
I don't feel so bad about it.
Nope.
So anyway, RoboHawk's been a good friend of the club for 2 years now. We appreciate everything that they do. And of course, Star Deli and American Solutions. Oh, I don't want to forget jerseys, right?
Jerseys. Yep.
So I'm surprised Tyler's not there tonight drinking his celebratory beers with Rick and Nate and the rest of that gang So anyway, good tournament. But let's get Tyler on here and kind of chat about the weekend. So cool.
Yeah, right. I'm excited to hear a story.
Tyler, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Hey, what does your hat say, man?
United States of America.
All right. USA. I feel like we should have a chant here or something.
Yeah.
Hey, man. So I know you rolled in like late morning to Elwood. Yep. And you didn't get a pre-fish.
Nope.
Because the wind, right?
Yeah, it was horrible. I mean, I got there about noon and seen you in the parking lot there. I talked to you a little bit on the way down about your drive issue and all that, and got there and drove by Johnson and just started shaking my head because I could see the white caps from the road.
Right.
It was just awful. So I knew when I got to Elwood it was going to look the same way, and just didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
There was another place to launch, maybe if you could launch from the north side, but there was just nowhere else to go.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, what did you think of that boat ramp at Elwood?
It's a long way down there.
It is it's a little bit of a pain for sure. So
Luckily, there was that little access road to get down there. Otherwise, it was a long haul up and down.
yeah, but even with that access road, it's still steep,
Yeah,
and it's got this weird curve to it. Like when I was dragging Rick's boat back up to the top, it like you kind of go at this weird angle, so it kept tipping the boat over.
and when I got done, Jay Moeller was down there, and I was like, "You're gonna have to help me because there's no way I'm gonna lift my kayak on the wheels because it would just start rolling, or the wheels would start like nothing was gonna stay in place because of the angle of it." So you almost
Does it have the ridges? Does it have ridges in the concrete too, where it's just like bumpy the whole time all the way up?
Yeah, but
So it's not.
it was so steep didn't help.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So let me ask you, Tyler. Do you have history at Elwood? Have you fished there before? Are you any of those
Nope.
local lakes?
That Friday afternoon was the first time I seen it in person.
So Friday, so Friday you roll in. The chop is bad. You decide to do something else.
Yep, I drove around for a while looking at other roads, and everything was private. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go check out some of this other lakes. And I went to some Phillip Lake, which was down the canal from Johnson, and just like, I'm just going to go fish here for a little bit and see what happens. And then kind of found a pattern on that lake and said, I'll just try it on Elwood and see if it can happen there.
So yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, did you learn anything from pre-fishing a different lake that you kind of took into the tournament on Saturday?
I mean, I caught like 5 smallmouth and 5 largemouth, and every fish I caught was either shallow and on some type of cover.
Right.
So I caught a couple smallmouth in random spots, but not very many. Most of the fish came on shallow structure, so something that was sitting right on the shore, and I just started targeting that stuff, and that's where I was getting all my bites.
So you kind of had that plan going into Saturday that, hey, this worked on this other lake. Let's stick with it and just kind of see what happens.
That's what I was just going to go with and see what happens.
Yeah.
Saturday was what different weather though, right? It kind of cleared up halfway through the day for you guys, or was it?
It did.
It wasn't nearly as windy.
No, it was cloudy and drizzly till 10 o'clock, 10:30 maybe, and then it cleared up. And when it cleared up is when my bite turned on.
Yeah. So you didn't get on fish early.
Walleye. I had a limit of walleye that were probably 110 inches by 7 o'clock, 6:30.
Nice.
Yeah.
All I could get to bite. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. I of course I got that 25 and a quarter, which was a great fish for me, but I also got a 24, a 21 and a quarter, and a few that were around that 18-inch mark. So
yeah, I had a few 18s that I didn't measure because I already measured like a 19, a 21, and a 22 and a half. And
did you find the fish moving around after it cleared up and the wind died down to feed, or did you, like I said, did you switch it up to your technique on the previous day?
No, I mean, the first cove I started in had a ton of brush on the shore, and I thought the fish were going to be there. They just weren't. Just the walleye. I mean, and carp everywhere, and fished around that cove, fished another cove, and started going down and just couldn't get any bites. I had something hit about, I don't know, 8:30. It just smacked my spinnerbait and went straight down. I didn't know what it was. Got it up to the boat, and it must have seen the boat and then turned and went straight down. And all I seen was a tail swirl right next to my boat. So whatever it was a giant. But I just don't know what it was. It fought funny, and I wasn't sure it was a bass. Maybe another walleye, maybe a catfish. I don't know. But it was on no structure. It was just on a flat bank. Maybe had a little bit of a drop, but just there was nothing there. It was just blank. I was just searching for stuff at that point and made a random cast. And then moved to a different area about 9:30. I caught my first bass, and it kind of fought the same way. So then it made me think, like, maybe that was a bass. I don't know. The fish fought different there than any normal place. They fought hard, and they kind of stayed down for the most part.
Would you consider that big fish when you lost because you didn't know it was a bass, or did you continue? You said you maybe lost a couple more.
Later in the day, I did.
Oh, okay.
That was my first kind of experience of having something on there. I have no idea what it was. I just know it was a big tail swirl. So I mean, it could have been a walleye, but it would have been an odd spot for a walleye to sit because it was fairly shallow and in this little inlet that was pretty shallow anyway. So it wasn't like a main lake point or nothing. So I don't know if it was a catfish or a drum, maybe. I have no idea. I just know the tail swirl was big, so it wasn't nothing small.
Yeah, it was interesting. And I'm going to talk about walleye because I caught more of that than anything. But I found all the walleye sitting in shallow water.
Mine were too. I was sitting in like 8 foot of water and casting to the shore, and they were hitting in between that. And I think the second walleye I got, I stopped about a couple feet from the boat to adjust my rudder, and I stopped and I had a spinnerbait on it. It just started fluttering down, and I seen one come up and just grab it, just sitting there.
Yeah.
So I started just for fun. I was like, let me try that again. A few casts later, I stopped short of the boat and just let it flutter down, and you see these walleye would just come up and grab it. So it was pretty wild to see that.
So early in the day, were you? Because I mean, you and I talked a little bit after the tournament, and can we talk about kind of how you were fishing that spinnerbait? Is that all right? I don't want to give away any of your secrets.
Well, I don't care.
Okay.
It wasn't nothing crazy, but
so did you start out? Because you and I talked about how you were fishing that. You were kind of throwing it deep in flooded grass, flooded timber, that sort of thing. Well, did you start the day throwing it in that kind of cover, or were you kind of working the edges?
I started off attacking the cover from away, so I was casting into it, not parallel with the shore.
Okay.
So I was casting in and working the edges in the middle of it. And then when I started searching and I lost that big fish, I was actually right on the shore and casting along the shore, and that's when I got that bite. So then I kind of switched and started fishing that way. 9:30, I got a fish off of a point because I was like, I'm going to go try this other area. So I went around and up to the north. While I was working my way up there, I was just kind of running along the bank, casting in front of me, and caught a fish off of a point. I mean, I could see the bottom of the point where I caught the fish. Like, that's how shallow it was sitting. So I said, okay. So I just kept working my way up that way and didn't get nothing for like another hour. Went into this one cove and caught a fish working my way in there on a Nico, and then switched to a spinnerbait again and cast it in this really shallow spot and got a little dinky fish. And I'm like, okay, maybe they're sitting here. And the spot had a bunch of flooded grass back there. And it almost looked like there was a creek channel that was starting to fill up there because you had really shallow water and grass. And then this point came out that was really shallow and a bunch of grass, but you could clearly see that there was a little creek channel going in the middle of it. So I was like, I'm going to go check this out. So I had to pull my drive up and everything because it was only a couple feet of water and maybe 4 feet wide. So I had a little bit of room on each side of my kayak, and it was inches deep on both sides. So I worked back in this creek channel and got all the way to the back, and it kind of turned left and went back. And I couldn't get back that far, but I was like, I'm just going to flip back here. So I flipped back there with my Nico, the first cast, and as I'm bringing it back, I look down and I see this log, small log or something laying across the creek. And it had these little patches of grass along the edges, almost kind of looked like ornamental grass that you'd put at your house, kind of big, thick clumps of it. And I look down there, and right behind that, between that clump of grass and that log, I see a nose sticking out of a fish. And my cast is perfect. It's like dead on line for it. So I bring it up over that log and drop it right in front of him, and he just grabs it right away. And I catch it, and that was that 19-inch one that I caught. So that kind of changed my whole strategy on how I was going to fish the rest of the day, that I skipped everything that did not have shallow, flooded cover of some sort. Any bank that was blank or any drop-offs, I didn't care. All I was looking for was stuff that was in inches of water and was flooded. And then that's where all my fish just started coming.
So you're talking inches of water, not like 2 feet.
I mean, I'm just driving right along the bank, as just off the shore, so my drive wasn't rubbing in the ground, and I'm just casting straight in front of me. Wow. And that's what I started doing, and just the fish just kept coming, and that's what they were sitting on. I mean, when I was throwing the spinnerbait a couple of times, I'd stand up just to try to kind of look at certain spots because I was back there out of the wind, so I could stand up in those spots.
I was gonna say you're gonna be out of the wind, warmer water, inches of it was
actually
keep it warm.
actually colder water back there, which was
Oh,
the
really?
crazy.
Oh,
It
okay.
was like 58 degrees where I was fishing at, catching all this stuff, and everywhere else it was like 62.
Right.
And it was funny because when I started working my way back in that cove, I looked behind me and here comes Marty cruising down the middle of it. And I'm like, oh, dang, there goes Marty to catch all my fish in front of me. So I'm like, okay, by this time, I wasn't catching him at this time when I seen him. And then a few minutes later, I see him coming back the other way. And I'm like, oh, he didn't see something down there. So he started fishing on the other bank for me for a little bit and then took off. And then it kind of was funny that the further back I got, the better the fishing got. And I talked to Marty about that afterwards. He's like, yeah, I went back there and didn't like it. So I left. And I'm like, well, that's where I caught all my fish.
Well, that's
was the water very clear? There's no silt back there. You said that it kind of just feeds in from up there.
No, it was clear. I could see when I caught all my fish, I could see the bottom. I mean, the banks dropped off fairly quick in a lot of spots, but I mean, all those fish I were catching were just tucked right up on the shore. I mean, if there was just any like floating debris of some sort that kind of pushed up on the bank, they were just sitting on that junk, and that's where I was catching.
But you had all that grass there, a lot of oxygen, small area. Just pumping.
I mean, it was so shallow, so who knows? I mean, it was just.
Yeah,
that's just where I was getting them. I mean, there was some timber that I caught some on, some of the grass, just anything on the shore that was flooded, no matter what it was. That's what I was throwing at, and that's what they were at.
I was going to ask you, James, was it a good lake for the amount of anglers that were there? Do you feel like?
Oh my gosh, yeah. They say it ranges between 900 and 1,200 acres. The water was still down. Right, because they draw it down every summer, and apparently there's a leak in the dam, so it loses water. But I would say it was probably right around 1,000 acres, and it fishes pretty big. It doesn't fish small. I went most of the day until I came back out on the main lake, because I went back in an arm and then back in a couple of coves, and I really didn't see anybody. I think we could easily put. I don't know. I'd be comfortable putting 60, 80 anglers on there for sure.
Wow.
I mean, that cove I first started in, there was quite a few people back up in there. And that was one of the reasons that kind of made me turn around. It's like, well, there's a bunch of people, funneling into this area. So I was like, I'm just going to go look at this other spot. So I just kind of left and started working my way to the other spot. And I was like, I seen a boat on my way in, and I seen Marty. And then for like 2.5 hours, I didn't see anybody. I was back there all by myself. I seen nobody.
One thing I thought was real interesting was just the diversity of the lake. I mean, you had the shallow parts. You had, more points than you could care to fish in a year. I mean, it's amazing. So many coves, deep water.
Yep.
You could find some rock. You could find some timber. I imagine once the lake gets a little bit higher, you're really going to get into some more timber.
Yep.
But
smallmouth,
it was pretty cool how diverse the fishery was. I mean, even if you weren't catching bass, you were catching something, right?
Yep.
And it for me, and it kind of sounds like for you too, Tyler, that once you found whatever the fish were feeding on, it didn't matter if it was bass or walleye or whatever, that was the bait, and they were going to hit it if the fish were there.
Yeah.
So it was more about finding the species that you were targeting instead of finding the bait.
I caught one fish on a bladed jig. Everything else came on a spinnerbait or a Nico.
Yeah. How many fish did you catch that day?
Bass wise? Probably. Yeah. I mean, I've got 6 or 7 walleye early in the morning, and then bass wise, I probably had 12.
Yeah, that's a good day fishing, man.
I mean, towards the end there, I was catching a lot of 15s and a half. So I'm like, the other day, this would be great. But at that point, my smallest fish was like a 16.
Yeah.
15.75, I think, at that point when I was throwing 14s and 15s away.
So I want to ask you a couple things. So first, I want to ask you about the banana on the boat.
About what?
The banana on your boat.
Oh, yeah. I put that myth to bed, didn't I? So it was really dark launching down there, and everybody's kind of loading their stuff up on the ramp and kind of piling their kayaks together off to the side a little bit, just in case a boat showed up. I think everybody was doing that. So we kind of loaded up down there, and then everybody kind of went and moved their trucks up and kind of sat there and wait until launch. And I actually didn't walk back down there till, I don't know, a little after 5. I was like, it's so dark. I've never been on the lake before. I have no idea where I'm going. So I was just kind of waiting for it to get a little bit lighter. Walk down there, and first thing I see is a banana sitting on my seat. I'm like, really? And at first I thought it was Rick or Nate, because when we were in Wanahoo, Nate said something like, oh, I'm hungry. I wish I brought something to eat. And I was like, I had some granola bars. So I went and grabbed a granola bar, and I remembered I brought a banana with me. I'm like, here, I got this. And I threw it at him. He's like, I don't want that thing. So then he put it on Rick's boat, and then he moved it to Alex's boat, and it kind of got passed around on the Wanahoo ramp. So when we were at Elwood, that's what I thought it was. I'm like, I thought it was Nate because I was sitting right next to him. So I threw it on his boat, and he's walking down the ramp, and he sees me shining a flashlight. He's like, what are you looking at? He thought I was looking at his tackle to see what he was using. I'm like, nothing. So he sees it, and then he throws it at Rick, and I thought it was those guys. Well, come to find after the fact, it was Alex and Josh that did it. They're like, I didn't know who boat it was. I just threw it on somebody's boat sitting there.
Must have been good luck for you or something.
Something, I guess. Didn't hinder me at all, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
That's what he said. Nate.
Alex here says Nate put the banana on my boat at Wanahoo. So I don't know. I kind of feel like next year's club shirts might have to have a banana on them or something.
Yeah, something.
We'll
a
see.
monkey and a banana.
Yeah, and then Alex got big bass that day at Wanahoo.
Yeah, right. So there must be some good juju happening with banana. So
sounds like a future sticker.
Yeah, there you go.
A future sticker, a banana sticker.
Yeah. That's funny.
Why not? So, where did you camp at?
I just slept in my truck. I was parked in your campsite, James.
Oh yeah.
James would have been drunk. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, no, you know what? Like, so Friday we got up at. I got up at 3. Kevin picked me up at 3:30, and that's pretty funny. Yeah, that you were parked at my campsite. Anyway, I'm old as heck, so whatever. But anyways, it was a good tournament, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah. So going throughout my day, I got my limit, and I had my small fish was like at 8 3/4. I'm like, well, that's if I can just get something 14, 15. I was like looking at the leaderboard. I'm like, that's going to pop me into the top 5 or top 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going around, and I get all the way back in the cove, like as far back as I can go, and I see another creek channel going back there. I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like, let me look back here. So I, throw my drive up, and I paddle back there, and I can get back there quite a ways, but there was just nothing there. So I turned around and came out of it and just started casting again at that flooded grass, and I seen the fish come darting out, swipe at the bait, and then take off. Like he just wasn't fully committed to it. He just kind of smacked at it. And then made another cast, and I don't know, 3 casts later, I caught like a 15 or something. So then I had my upgrade, went around the corner, and in this little corner, there was a huge pile of trees just kind of laying crisscrossed and all over the place on each other. So I cast around the edges and nothing. And I'm looking at it, and right in the middle, there's like a kind of triangle opening right in the middle of all this junk. I'm like, well, what the hell? So I flipped my spinnerbait in there and made like 2 turns, and I see a fish just come up and watch the whole thing happen, just come up and smacked it, and then just kind of went straight down. And I'm like, okay, I got to try to get this fish out of this hole, so he doesn't lose him. So I'm trying to horse him up. My line gets caught on a branch. There's a big log laying down, and there's this branch sticking up out of it. My line gets caught on it, and I'm trying to pick the fish up, and I can't get my line off of that. and I can't get the fish over the log. So he's just kind of dangling there, and his nose is sticking out of the water, and I'm just holding him there. So I pedal up to the thing and kind of ram into it as fast as I could, and I got stopped short of it. I couldn't reach it. So I grab my net with one hand, my rods in my other, trying to hold this fish up, and I climb on my knees to the front of my kayak, as far front as I could go, and reach, and just enough to net the fish with one hand, take my rod and like bite the line with my other so I could climb back in with the fish. And then I get down, I put it on the board, and it was like a 17 and a quarter. And with that time, adding everything up, that was the fish that put me above Marty on where the leaderboard stood.
Now, you kind of put those fish in your pocket, though, for a while, right?
That one I did. That one
Why?
I held on to for a minute.
Why?
Just in case I seen somebody back there.
So did anybody come back there?
What's that?
Did anybody come back there?
About an hour, I don't know, half hour or so after that, I'm coming around the corner working this stuff. I come around the corner and I see Jay Moeller back there. And he's like, how's it going? How's it going? I'm like, it's good. And he's like, catching anything? I'm like, yeah, I got my limit. And he asked what I had. And I'm like, well, I posted on the leaderboard. And then he pulled it up and looked, and he's like, oh, you're right behind me. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh. And he's like, I think I'm going to go back and chase some smallies. And I'm like, okay, cool. Good luck. And I mean, I knew I was on him back there. So I was like kind of keeping to myself and didn't want to give too much away because I knew I had a really good shot to win the thing.
That makes sense.
That's awesome. I tell you what, I know you and Rick are good buddies, and he had to leave early.
Yep.
And Rick was judging fish on the way home, and at some point he called me. He's like, dude, I think he got it. I go, who? He goes, one of my buddies. I'm thinking, what? Wait. And he's like, yeah, it's gonna be his first W. And then I knew it was you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man.
He wasn't telling me nothing. He's like, I'm gonna make you sweat it out. I'm not telling you anything.
He said you worked him over pretty hard trying to get some info out of him.
Yeah.
Good for Rick.
He's like, there's lots of fish coming in. There's lots of fish coming in.
I can't keep up with it.
There were lots of fish coming in. In fact, there were, I think, 93 fish caught on the day.
Yeah.
Found it kind of interesting that I had to break down the report today to send into Nebraska Game and Parks, right? We have to do that after every tournament, report the fish. Largemouth, 3 fish between 12 and 15, 44 fish between 15 to 20, 1 fish 20 over 20, and that of course was Matt Rogge who won Big Bass with this 20 and a half, which was freaking awesome. I mean, good fish. Smallmouth, 8 fish, 11 to 14, 26 fish, 14 to 17 inches. So
who are the 18-inch smallmouth? Who's did somebody submit that? Oh, I think you said 15, 18. There was one, or there's some between that range. Okay.
No, 14 to 17, and then I don't show anything over 17.
Unless
I screwed up the report, which is absolutely possible. So, Alex nicely says, funny thing before the tournament, my daughter said break a leg, then I broke my Mirage drive. So I want to tell the story about Alex because I thought this was pretty cool. So Alex had one fin for most of the day, right, on his Hobie, and we were kind of heading back towards the ramp a little bit early, and I was chatting with him, and he was a little bit down, like nothing went right today, and I think he had 3 fish. And he said I'm gonna fish this boat ramp. He said go ahead and load up if you want to. I was like, no man, I'm gonna hang back and do your thing. And sure enough, Alex filled his limit right there fishing the boat ramp, man. Yeah. It was cool. Yeah, it was super cool. Both smallmouth. So that was fun to watch. Matt Rogge was trying to get an upgrade there at the end. Kind of fishing that rock point by the boat launch, and it was a good tournament, man. The lake was good. It produced. The anglers that we had were fantastic. I mean, we just had so much fun hanging out with everybody, and
are there a lot of Are there a lot of like submerged trees, kind of like at 12 Mile that you can run to in the middle of the lake there, or no? Like how he
There's
broke his drive?
there's trees out there, but you just seen like little branches and stuff sticking up. I think they were big down below, but they're almost more like brush piles, not really trees, I guess, from
I
what
see.
they look like. Because the branches were just, I don't know, a couple inches of diameter, maybe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There were a few trees like off the main lake on one of the points. If you were going into the middle arm, kind of worried me a little bit, like because it was super dark. In fact, we had kind of talked about maybe pushing launch back another 15 minutes, pushing launch in
Yeah,
back another 15 minutes. But
It was pretty wild going across that lake that early in the morning.
yeah, it was super dark, and you know maybe we made a little bit of a bad call on that, but I'm glad it worked out. That nobody necessarily capsized in the middle of the lake or anything like that. We did have one angler who went for a swim. A new guy is his name's Preston. His brother Dustin fished with us at Wanadu, but and he was still at the boat ramp. So Kevin and I slept in, right? So I didn't even get to the ramp till like 5:30, and we launched about 6:10. So I saw this this guy Preston down on the boat ramp, and he seemed a little bit nervous, and I just kind of told him like, well, stay within your abilities, and he unfortunately lost a couple rods and some gear, but he made it off the water safely, so we're super thankful for that. But
Good.
crazy weekend now. So Alex says here $447 later. So
On a new drive?
he took his drive into select sale today, and he's like, fix it, let's get her done. So
Yeah.
Nice.
so watch out for Alex, because he needs to earn some money at our
Yeah,
next tournament.
right.
So Tyler, you are you gonna be fishing all the rest of the live tournaments, and is there one in particular you look forward to?
Oh, probably the championship. I mean, everybody loves 12 Mile and Green Valley, so that's going to be a fun one there. I mean, Black Hawk I've never been to before, so that'll be another going in. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe I'll try to go pre-fish at one of these weekends or something. I don't know what's going to happen with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you still
should
doing
be-
monthlies? Are you doing monthlies too?
Yeah, I was in this one.
Okay.
Black Hawk's going to be interesting, I think. It's a real shallow lake.
Yeah.
But Jiggy J's right, man. They do have a lot of junk fish. They got a lot of muskie and all sorts of things going on there. So, but I've heard the bass fishing is excellent. There's a ton of docks. So, if flipping docks is your thing, there's going to be opportunity there. They got a ton of bluegill in that lake, so that helps you out at all. I expect a lot of limits, and I also expect that we're probably going to have 40 or more anglers at that tournament, with a lot of the Iowa guys stepping up and coming in, and I kind of get the feeling maybe they know some things that us Nebraska guys don't about that lake. So we'll see how that plays out. So
I got one more story I can share about how my day ended there at Elwood.
yeah, for sure, man.
So I had about an hour left to go, and I had a few more coves that I was going to fish, and I upgraded one, half an inch upgrade, get around this corner about 30 minutes to go in the day or so, maybe 40 minutes to go. Come around this point and see some junk on the shore again. Cast my spinnerbait down there. At this point, it's not windy, so I stood up again to kind of see what was going on, because I'm looking to see if I could see fish sitting up on the shore. Throw my spinnerbait in front of this thing, and I see a fish dart out, peck at my spinnerbait, and then turn around and go right back underneath where he was at. And I'm like, okay. So I cast a few more times with spinnerbait, nothing. So I had a Nico on, and I just pulled the peg out of it, and I was like, I'll just throw it like a wacky. So I flipped that over there, nothing, wouldn't come out for nothing. I'm like, okay. So I go up past it, and he was still sitting there. I spooked him, and he came out. He just wouldn't bite anymore after that. A few feet from that, there was another stick that washed up and some other junk that was there. So I casted that, we'll just call it a weightless Nico at that point, It would, floating really slow, not moving. I twitched it twice, just a huge blow up. Seen the whole fish just comes up and annihilates it. Immediately grabs it, takes off to the right. My drag is screaming on my rod. A couple seconds later, it just comes off. I thought he broke my line or something. I come off, I got my hook. He just got off. It was a giant too. That one would have probably broke the 90 mark for me. And
wow.
Maybe got me big fish too. It was a monster. And I don't know I think he was just pulling so hard that he just ripped it out of his mouth. I don't know. I was talking earlier, fish fighting different there. The fish fought harder than other places for some reason. They really fought there. And that's the only thing I can think of, because it was the same hook, same setup that I caught my 19 on earlier. I caught a couple 16s on it. Nothing changed, and I just lose that thing. And that's the only thing I could think happened. He just ripped it out of his own mouth because he was pulling so hard.
Are there other predatory fish out there other than just the largemouth and smallmouth?
There's pike and muskie.
Yeah.
Nate probably had the crash fish one. He calls me. He's like, dude, I was hollering for you, because we were kind of fishing the same cove on opposite ends. And then I took off. This was early in the day. And I didn't hear him. And he called me. He's like, yeah, I was trying to call you for your help. I had a big muskie. And he's like, I don't know how he's going to measure it, because he said it was like mid-30s or over, bigger than his board was. He's like, maybe we could have put two boards together. He said he was trying to take a picture of it, and it flopped and got off before he could take a picture of it.
Oh, man.
Picks or it didn't happen, man. That's all I'm saying. I was like, at one point I was like, you know what, man, if I just can hold on to this walleye or pick up a pike or a muskie or something, or maybe I'll just fish for junk fish today.
Yeah. Maybe if you had like a muskie eating a pike, and then with the links combined, you can get some extra weight.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the day, I made I don't know if it was a good decision or not, but I shot over to the dam, and the dam there is a little bit different because it's just concrete. There's no riprap or vegetation or anything on it. And so I'm just kind of drifting down this dam, and I found a bite on jerkbait on a shad wrap, and so I'm throwing that and just kind of working the dam. And I was actually talking to Rick on the phone, and I go, fish on, man, gotta go. And I hung up on him, and I have no idea what it was, but this fish, like, he hit it hard, and then he turned and he swam directly at me under my boat, and my rod was like bent in half, and the rod got in between the boat and because I'm on Rick's boat, right? Between the boat and his paddle, popped the paddle off. I lost the paddle, and I thought, oh, holy crap, I thought maybe it was like a big catfish or maybe a giant wiper or something.
It's probably a wiper if it did that.
And then all of a sudden my line went slack, and I was like, oh no. And so the crazy thing was, I fished this, I fished the jerkbait all day on 12-pound mono. My jerkbait box was actually on my other boat up on my trailer. I had one jerkbait with me. So, but I fished all day, and I thought this guy had broken me off. And but I sure would have loved to have seen that fish, because it was definitely one of the bigger freshwater fish I've ever hooked into.
There was a couple stories like that. I had one, you had one. There was a few stories where guys have had stuff hooked and never seen it, and they knew it was.
Were these like short strikes, or were they just deep? Like you're saying, you're fishing a jerkbait, but was he deep underneath your boat when he hit, or was he just right when you're getting it up to the surface it hit?
I mean, I was fishing that jerkbait, right? And that's a slow sinking jerkbait. I was fishing that like 4 foot of water all day long. So it was really kind of a pain to fish, because I was picking up grass every time I wasn't hitting the fish, but it was the only choice I had for jerkbait. So, but he hammered it and just ran right at me. And really, I caught a couple fish early in the morning on spinnerbait. And I think it was the same spinnerbait that Tyler was throwing. It was white with chartreuse.
Yeah.
And I was getting I picked up a walleye, and I was like, okay, then I couldn't figure it out. And I talked to Rick, And Rick's like, dude, I'm hammering him on the popper. I don't know what it is about Valadez and his damn top water.
Yeah.
I think he fished
Tries-
out Truman also. Yeah, Truman is fishing a quarry, I think, with the popper.
So great story about Rick, right? Like, when I always give him shit like, Rick, you're a one-trick pony, right? Because he always used to throw the buzzbait. You're a one-trick pony. You're a one-trick pony. And a couple years ago, we took a trip out to Horsetooth Reservoir in Fort Collins, and Rick had never caught a smallmouth in his life. And I'm like, oh man. He's like, I'm throwing a buzzbait all day. I'm like, nobody throws a buzzbait with a smallmouth. And the dude took third in that tournament. So he is a top water wizard. Watch out if Rick gets a strong frog game. Watch out. Because anyway, it was cool to watch Rick. And the cool thing about and Jay, I don't know if you know this, but Rick only fished till like 11 a.m. and then he took
Oh
out.
wow.
And he finished fifth.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
top water, man. I mean, super, super cool. But I love that lake. I hope we can get back next year.
Oh yeah, I hope to.
There's a whole bunch of lakes there in that area, and for sure, I think Elwood is definitely the best lake in that area.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
No, I heard a lot of guys, throwing spinner baits. I think people were just fishing the wrong way from where the fish were biting. Because I seen a boat, I came by a boat with two guys on there and catching anything, and I was like, yeah, I got one bass and a whole bunch of walleye. They're like, I knew what they were throwing because I could see what they were throwing when I was coming out. Both of them were throwing buzz baits, or not buzz baits, sorry, spinner baits. And so they were talking. They're like, what were you throwing? I'm like, spinner bait. They're like, what color? And I told them, just they were out there fun fishing, but they were so far off the shore, and where they were casting, I mean, they were casting short of where I was catching all my fish. I mean, they were casting a couple feet from the shore. And some of the other people I seen were fishing off the shore and casting into it. I changed my strategy, and I was riding the bank and casting in front of me. And that's how I started catching all my fish. I was eliminating everything from 3 foot deeper and just fishing this one little section of everything. And that's where all my fish came. And I think the only person I seen fishing that way was probably Marty. When I did see him back there, it looked like he was running up the bank and casting in front of him. So he was doing the same thing I was, and then he finished second.
Yeah.
I think there was something to that approach.
Absolutely. So, Marty has a lot of experience on that lake. I kind of felt like, going in, he would probably be up there at the top.
Yeah.
And you can't count Marty out on, it doesn't matter what the lake is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the guy just has
He has
so many tools to work with, and he's just got so much experience.
He's got like the seventh sense, man.
Yeah.
He's got the fifth sense, sixth sense. He's got the seventh sense. He just knows when to make the right call at the right time.
I kind of wish like Marty would win a tournament on something besides a Nico rig, just so I could hear him talk about it and I could learn something different.
How do you know he's not winning on it without a not on Nico?
I think well we have a pretty unique club, and I think our guys are pretty open about sharing information with you. Like there's some things you keep close to the chest, and I get that. But I also feel like a lot of these guys that are in our club who've been around for a while, they want to see the new guys grow and get better at what they're doing. And I don't know, maybe that's just me and I'm naive about the whole thing, but I feel like we have a good group of guys that share a good amount of information. Not too much, but enough to help the new anglers out.
I was gonna say I really like Marty has his own style. Everybody tries to incorporate his style into their own style, and it's just awesome to see that we have so many different varieties of fishermen.
Yeah, for sure. So Marty finishes second. He was like an inch behind you, which was awesome. Matt Rogge finished third. He had that 20 and a half. Beautiful fish, man. He was, he just needed a couple upgrades and he could have been right up there at the top.
I was worried towards the end. I mean, I knew Marty was right there. I knew Matt was right there, and I knew he had like a 13. I mean, he could have called that pretty easy, but I knew where he sat compared to me, he would have to have gotten like a 17 to get me.
Yeah.
And I had that one big bite at the end. I was like, that thing would have just put a nail in the coffin. I knew nobody could catch me at that point, so that would have been.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have had to sweat it out if I got that thing in there.
So one of the things I was kind of thinking about on the way home, and as a director, I was super happy with the way the tournament went. Right, like everybody was catching fish, and it was a great day. But I was a little bit, I don't know, kind of lost myself a little bit. I'm like, okay, what if we didn't have that major cold front push through? I mean, how much better would have the fishing been?
Yeah, I don't know. It was great for me.
Yeah.
And the water
For sure.
was.
I think the point is there's a lot of fish in that lake.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of bass in that lake, and
That's right. Because I did talk to Marty after that, where I told him, I said, I seen you go up and then turn around and got back. And he's like, yeah, I got up there and the water was colder. He's like, I didn't like it. So that's why he left. And I mean, the fish were still sitting way shallow, even with the water cooling off with that cold front and everything. I mean, they were way up there still.
yeah.
So it was kind of bizarre that I don't know, it affected them a ton.
Another comment here from James Strawbridge. I have to go fish Elwood some weekend. Sounds cool. James, if you ever want to meet me out there, dude, I cannot wait to get back. I'd love to go out there and fish a day with you, man. So just hit me up.
Yeah,
They draw that lake down in the summers, so I think timing's kind of everything with that lake. But it's one that I definitely want to get back to.
There's so many different varieties of fish in there you can catch. I mean, it's unreal.
Yeah,
And
I want to
big,
go
too.
there. I really want to go there next year and try to get like a limit of smallmouth. If I can, try to post up some smallmouth.
Yeah, Michael Thomas got a limit of smallmouth. He was super excited about that, and that was cool. I know him and his dad. I think Friday night or Saturday after the tournament, they went and fished Johnson, and his dad Don got his very first smallmouth ever, which was super cool. We had Micah and Mason fishing with us. Micah's Mason's dad. Mason's 11. He got to post his first tournament fish, which was
I've seen that.
super cool. Third place, of course, we talked about Matt and what he did. Let's talk about Jennifer Solberg a little bit, because
she's doing really well.
You get these, you rack up a season full of third and fourth place or second place finishes, throw first place in there. Now you're talking about a potential angler of the year. And I know it's super early, but she's been super impressive those first two tournaments out there, and her ability to find some fish. So congrats to you, Jennifer.
She was up there north where I was at. I passed her after I caught my first fish, and I seen her around the corner and passed her. And then right towards the end of the day, there was like 15 minutes left. I came around the corner and I seen her sitting there. So she was working her way up there. So it seemed like there was a lot of fish up there, that north area.
Yeah, I'm not sure where she pre-fished the day before, but I know she zeroed. Right, she zeroed on pre-fishing, and we'd talked a little bit at Canyon Lakes Brewery on Friday night, and I kind of felt like maybe she was a little bit discouraged, and so it was cool to see her get on some fish and kind of kick a lot of people's butts.
I'm guessing she caught all her fish on something slow, because the times I see her fish, she's kind of posted up and really fishing an area really thorough.
Yeah,
from what I've noticed.
Spot lock.
There.
Yeah, that spot lock really helps her out for sure.
Yeah,
and I'm super jealous of it.
I've watched her fish, and she's on here right now. She says, "Hey, let's go." But she zeroes in on a spot, and she's going to work every inch of it.
Picks it apart, yeah.
For sure. And she had a impressive finish at Wanahoo in less than ideal conditions.
Yeah.
And of course, conditions weren't perfect at this one, man. I'm hoping that Blackhawk, wouldn't it be nice to have like an 80-degree day with like a mild 5 mile an hour wind, and
I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be record fishing at Elwood. That's the beginning of June or second week of June, maybe into the third week of June. It's going to be like the best.
You talking about Blackhawk?
Yeah, it's gonna be just other than bass. Maybe we'll catch bass, but I'm telling you, there's gonna be some giant trashers gonna be caught. I
Yeah.
feel it.
I seen somebody comment on the page. I mean, for the boundary for Blackhawk, because it looks like there's some other bays or something that kind of come off of that lake. So I don't know what the boundaries are going to be for that place.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I threw it out there to Rick and Jay, and I need to confirm with them, but I think what we're leaning towards is as long as you launch on the main lake, anywhere that you can paddle or pedal
Yeah.
to, or take your motor to, because we got those guys on motors this year, we'll probably be okay.
Because it looks
But we're
interesting.
not going to allow any portaging. You can't
Yeah.
pull over to another lake or anything like that. But
Well, I mean, it looks like there's a couple bays or pockets, or I don't even know what you would call them, that you can get to from the main lake, kind of scattered out in different places.
yeah,
From looking at, I've never been there, so I don't know for sure, but that's just what it looks like from the aerial view.
yeah, looks cool. By the way, I know campsites were kind of filling up fast. Found another campground today. I posted that link on our Facebook page. So if you're thinking about Blackhawk, there is another campground, and I need to check. So I posted that link to that campground yesterday, but now I'm being told that perhaps they only allow one tent per site. So I'm going to look into that tomorrow and kind of let everybody know what's going on for Blackhawk, and if we need to move to a different campground, there's another one close by. So, and by the way, Jennifer messaged me this afternoon, and she's going to take care of feeding us that day after the tournament. So thank you, Jennifer, for that. We're going to get some pulled pork sandwiches. So we appreciate the help with that. And anything else, Tyler, you want to talk about, or your thoughts on tournament, awards, hanging out, camping, any of that, man?
No, it was a good time. I mean, obviously it was better for me because I came out on top, so that always makes it so much better. But it was just always a great time fishing with everybody and fun to hang around with everybody.
Are you fishing tomorrow?
I don't know. I don't know if I want a 20-mile-an-hour winds and rain. I mean, that's going to be a game time decision. I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah, we're keeping a close eye on the weather tomorrow. For you guys that don't know, we are supposed to do league night on Walnut. Weather again looks less than favorable.
I mean, the wind too. I mean, the wind is supposed to be 20 plus again, and then rain on top of it. It's going to be awful.
Yeah, windy, cold, and rain. However, I know there's some guys in our club who absolutely love that lake. Jay is probably one of them.
Yeah.
Rick loves that lake. We'll have a few people out there. By the way, if you guys want to fish that and you're not able to make launch, you need to send us a message, myself, Jay Mueller, or Rick by 4:00. And once you get a reply, you're considered registered, and you need to make sure you get us money at the end of the night. So $20 for that. We throw $5 towards big bass. Other 15 goes to the payouts. If there's less than 10 people, we pay 2. If there's more than 10, we pay 3. Last week, Bob won big bass, and I've kind of seen Bob around for several years, and he's just a super friendly guy, and it was cool to see him go out there and put up a 19 and a half and an 18 and a quarter on Carter, while rest of us were on the struggle bus for sure. So
yeah,
good dude, man. But if you guys ever see Bob at the boat ramp, make sure you go up and introduce yourself. He's just a really nice guy. But that's all I got, man. Monthly, we got one more week left in the monthly. I think last I looked, I think Jordan Westerman and some of those Iowa guys are kicking Nebraska's butt.
yeah.
So if you're in Nebraska and have a chance to get out this weekend, get out there and put up some numbers. And
we gotta go to Iowa.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a trip to Iowa.
Look, I don't want to remind you, but Longshore, Bobby Rubik, those guys dominated the online last year. So
that's true.
Chris and Bobby, get out there and put up some numbers and challenge Jeremy Brandis and Jordan Westerman and make them work hard for it. Let's not give them cash.
I'm sure those guys got something in their back pocket they're holding on to until the last day.
Chris
Mhm.
and Bobby.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. Probably.
they're
Hey,
laying
by the
by
way,
window.
and I kind of mentioned that we fished one of the interstate lakes on our way back, man. I encourage anybody, anytime you're traveling out west, stop and fish some of those interstate lakes. You're going to be surprised at what you can find. And
Are you
How
are you
big was
talking
that?
about the I-80 lakes from Kearney to
yeah, but really from North Platte to Kearney,
okay.
Grand Island. Yeah, I mean there's some small water that holds some really big fish. So
How big was
I'm
that
not going
one
to tell
you
you where
got?
to go, but there's some good ones in there for sure.
How big was that one you got?
He was I didn't have a board, but he was 20. I mean, he was definitely 20. He was, and I the lake was shallow, maybe 4 or 5 feet, and you could kind of see the weed lines. And I cast past the first weed line to the second weed line. And I just dead sticked a wacky, and he smacked it, and that was a lot of fun. But
Marty got a just shy of 18-inch smallmouth too out there. I think.
Yeah.
yeah, I know Marty likes to. Well, he's got family, I think, in Kearney, his daughter and son-in-law and
Yeah.
kids or something, or grandkids or something. But that war axe out there, they've got smallmouth,
Yeah.
and looks like maybe that's what he was doing. I don't know for sure because there's all kinds of water out there. But,
Yeah, there was a lot of it there.
we had talked about it'd be cool to do a tournament out there, but the problem is that you have let's say you have 30 guys show up to fish a tournament, right? And 20 of those guys want to fish a 10-acre pond. Well,
Yeah.
then you got a real problem, right? Because
Yeah.
you're going to get
Yeah.
4 guys on there. It's still going to be crowded, and the other 10 are going to have to go find a different place to fish that morning. So good place to fun fish. I know, like Tim Berry, he lives out that way. If you ever want to go out there, maybe look up Tim Berry because he seems to catch a few fish and he seems like a good kid. But get with him and he'll put you on some fish out there. So, but that's all I got, guys. Man, good show, Tyler. Congrats, buddy. I'm super happy for you.
Thank you.
I was chasing you last year at Green Valley, and then you were chasing me at 12 Mile, and it was cool to see you get that W, man. I was super happy for you. So
No,
The jersey looks good on you, Tyler.
what's that?
Jersey looks good on you.
Oh yeah, I figured I put that on there. I was like, I might as well wear the jersey for the pictures.
Yeah.
Jay, you need to get your jersey, buddy.
Yeah. Tuesday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're gonna be there.
We're gonna do another run of them. We had some guys who kind of said, "Hey, we missed it," but those are pretty cool. I think they turned out awesome. So we'll do that. But appreciate everybody who watched tonight. Tyler, congrats, man. You're putting up a hell of a year. I mean, you've done your thing with bass, and now with CSKS, and
Got a
knows
couple
where this goes from here.
already this year.
Yeah, awesome. Congrats, Jiggy J. Thank you as always, and
Thanks, guys.
so we'll chat with you guys later.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
See ya. Have a good night,
See ya.
everyone.